we want to give the Apostolic Nuncio, the Pope in our midst, time also to interact with us. Mnamkaribisha?
Yeah.
Thank you, my Lord Bishop Michael Udiwa. Thank you, the Superior General, for inviting us. Thank you, sisters, of course also parish priests, here the chaplain and all the others, for giving me an opportunity today to be with you. As you were speaking, I was thinking of my own grandparents, whom I all came to know, even though the first one already died in 1970. But I had, with all of them, from my mother's side, from my father's side, a good contact. And especially later on, when I was at this difficult age, somewhere between 13 and 20, and at times there are like some kind of tensions at home with your parents, I could go to my grandmother and talk to her. My grandmother was that kind of woman who would understand everything and never reveal a secret to anyone. So being with my grandmother was a way of, well, of relief to me. Now, coming here, I was thinking, you know, myself, I'm also not that young anymore. maybe not as old as some of you, but surely I'm getting there within a few years. Maybe one of the good things about getting old is that you get milder. When you're younger, you're a bit tough at times and strict and severe. But when you get older, slowly but surely, it seems as if you're more loving, as if, well, yes, things might be difficult, things might not be completely okay, but with the mercy of God, we will get there. People who get older have this thing of being milder, kinder, more lovingly. That's maybe also why grandchildren like to be with their grandparents, because children are treated like little princes and princesses by their grandparents and never by their parents. And their parents might even complain every now and then to the grandparents, yeah, you're too kind with my children, be a bit tougher with them. And it's also true, I think, for the elderly sisters. One of the things I've also learned, and I think now of a sister with whom I worked, she was of the divine, from the Holy Spirit, SSPS sister. She was a missionary sister who later on had come back to the Netherlands, and she worked with me in the second parish where I was. And at that point, she was already also at the end of her 60s. She had always worked in hospitals, especially in the blood transfusion service. Sometimes I think, if I am what I am today, it is partly also because of her. It reminds me of another sister, by the way, also SSPS, not at home, but in Addis Ababa, where I was for a short time serving. And she also gave me some advice on how to continue on the road. That is the beauty of being old. Having accumulated a lot of wisdom, a lot of experience. And you went through a lot of victories, but also a lot of defeats. You know about your good sides, you know about your bad sides, you have seen it all. And therefore maybe it's also at times easier to understand the younger ones and not immediately to judge over them, but just to say, I will pray about it. Just to give people room and space to grow. Also, the third thing that came to my mind is that Mary herself, the Virgin Mary, survived her son, died at old age, and in a sense was still taking care of St. John, the evangelist, took her, or he took her in his home, but of course in many ways it was she who, from a human point of view, from a psychological point of view, emotional point of view, was taking care of him, guiding him into that very young church. That is maybe also your role. You might be old, It might be even physically you don't feel okay, and this pains and that hurts, and every time life can be a struggle. But you're also still in your heart, and I know that all of you are still like girls. The outside is old, but in your inner being, you're still that girl of 20 or 25 years old that never changes anymore. And even though your body doesn't want anymore, in your heart there remains a certain vigor. Maybe even more than with many of the young girls that are standing down there at the door. Because you have now that experience of life. You have that wisdom of life. And first and foremost, there is a kind of love and understanding and mercy in you because of the experience of life. And sometimes, let's face it, also the harshness of life. So with that, I greet you. I respect you. I honor you. You are like my mothers. You are like my grandmothers. And though, in a sense, I'm nearly a grandfather myself, but I still kneel down for you, because in you, God reveals his wisdom, God reveals his tender care for all of us. And then finally, you know, it is only a few months ago that Pope Benedict died, and came to me personally a bit as a shock, because I knew him personally. But Pope Francis always has said, and it's fact that it's also known fact, that many times he would cross from Santa Marta, where he lives, to the little monastery, the little convent there in the Vatican City, where Pope Benedict was living and spent his last years. And he would go there, asking for advice, asking for counsel, asking and listening to the wisdom of that old man who had already gone through so many things and had been Pope himself. So I wish also for the community that many will come to you, listen to you, appreciate you in your wisdom and love, as Pope Francis did towards Pope Benedict. And we all will become a bit more like Christ himself, like God the Father, in whom is all the treasure of wisdom. Thank you very much.